Hollywood right now is suffering. Movies that were expected to make bank are flopping. What is happening to the industry? We got to get to the bottom of this by looking at recent trends, how people are consuming entertainment, and how many movies are disappointing their studios. In recent times, you will immediately recognize three major draws to the box office, whether it be superhero tentpoles, big budget action franchises, or animated sequels up the wazoo. There's also low budget horror films from the likes of Blumhouse that every so often gets to shine alongside the big blockbusters. Every year it's been like this for a while and will probably continue to be the norm in the future. However, some of that fatigue is starting to settle. For instance, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania saw one of the biggest second weekend drops in MCU history. This is a feat that I did not see coming, but then I thought about it for a little bit. When you look at how impactful the Marvel Cinematic Universe was and how it changed the landscape of how to develop new blockbusters, and then you see how it ended on such a big bang with Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, you'll see just how successful it was for a long time. But then you enter the aftermath where many of the characters are either retired or dead, and you're having to carry on the legacy of them by adding newcomers and developing sequels. Some of their TV shows are even failing to a degree as well. Miss Marvel was one of their lowest performing shows, and so was the recent Secret Invasion, which by the way is getting backlash for using AI in their opening, which is exactly the type of shit that the WGA is striking against. But back to the subject. Believe it or not, what's happening with Marvel right now isn't as bad as what's happening with DC, their rival. Most of you might know this by common knowledge by now, but The Flash is making headlines for flopping big time. The second weekend is by far one of their worst ones, and it goes to show what happens when you're releasing content in a franchise that right now is going through a major reboot and overhaul from James Gunn, the person who brought us the Guardians of the Galaxy films, which Volume 3 of that did just fine at the box office. Who knows if the films he'll bring us in the new DC universe is going to do just as well, but going back to the DCEU, when you look at how misguided that it's been and how much it's had to go through, it's no wonder The Flash has ended up this way. From Wonder Woman 1984 having to do both theaters and HBO Max at the same time due to the pandemic, Birds of Prey performing under expectations, the drama surrounding Amber Heard and Aquaman 2 due to the Johnny Depp case, as well as what Ezra Miller has been going through. But those wouldn't be the only reasons why the DCEU is failing at the moment. Introducing superhero fatigue. When you're getting the same things over and over, you're bound to start getting sick of them. I myself started getting this fatigue long ago. I was getting hungry for more originality and more creativity out of the movies. That's where independent studios like A24 and Neon come in, but this isn't about superhero movie bad, indie films good. This is more about how the landscape changes every couple or so years, and the superhero genre is going through this phase right now as we speak. People just have more options these days, and they don't have to go out to the theaters to risk seeing a mediocre film, spending hundreds on gas, popcorn, soda, and other concessions. They can just wait to see it on Hulu or Netflix or whatever service there is now. Speaking of which, that is what is directly affecting Pixar, one of the world-renowned animation studios of our time, the studio that created such memorable classics such as Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, and WALL-E, and Up, and Ratatouille. I even say that Inside Out is up there as well, as that is set to be their revival after Pixar's golden age was over, and they did sequels that didn't do as well. Even Brave rubbed some people the wrong way. After seeing newcomers like Soul and Coco come about, Pixar has been seeing a pretty awkward period right now. With one of their most iconic assets, John Lasseter, forced to leave due to certain circumstances, Pixar has had to rely on others to develop fresh ideas. And when they fail, it's back to making sequels we don't actually need. A lot of people are pointing to the fact that most of their films have been getting sent to Disney+. During the pandemic, Soul, Luca, and Turning Red all landed on the surface, as well as Onward being sent there months early, and so did Lightyear when that flopped in theaters. With this mindset, fans have been led to question, why see a Pixar film in theaters when Disney Plus is gonna get it anyway? That brings us to Elemental, which you've probably seen the headlines by now about how it's their worst performing film. It could even reach 30 million opening weekend. The marketing for it was abysmal. Now, I have seen the movie. I do think it's a decent animated flick with relatable characters. Not their best, but I get why people would be tired of the tropes that they're using on here. This is the point I'm trying to make though. Original ideas are just very, very hard to market. When you're trying to sell a movie to audiences in 2023 that isn't tied to a big franchise or doesn't have celebrities, chances are you're gonna have a harder time to convince people you're worth spending money on. Take a look at DreamWorks' new movie Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. You've probably seen those memes on TikTok about how it's trying to diss the Little Mermaid and the villain looks like Ariel, but even that couldn't lure people in, causing it to be the worst performing film for the studio in history. But even having celebrities can fail too. Just because you have the budget to afford them doesn't guarantee success. If you look at David O. Russell's Amsterdam with the likes of Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, and Robert De Niro, or Damien Chazelle's Babylon with a similar cast, even they couldn't save this from losing money at the box office. And it's easy to blame Netflix for how many films just like this now exist and how many disposable action movies with big budgets can get away with having millions of people watch, but those still have problems. No one's gonna remember them after 2 weeks, the market is oversaturated as hell, many of these streaming movies are mediocre to begin with, you could say they're the McDonald's of cinema, and A24 is the porterhouse. Taking all of this into account, there is no singular answer as to why the box office is suffering as we speak. There's many factors to consider, and another I could point out is, well, people's tastes change all the time. Cinema is subjective, and just because Babylon failed doesn't mean there is never going to be another chance for a film like that to succeed again. When you look at how much hype that Oppenheimer and Barbie are getting, you can see that there is still demand for films like those, as long as you're marketing it right, and if people are interested in the craft. This is just another temporary downfall that I can see the market climbing back from. I see people still wanting to visit the movies for escapism every once in a while. There's all this nonsense about how comedy doesn't sell or how action films just won't do it at the box office anymore. But John Wick Chapter 4 came out this year and that performed great. There is still demand for certain things, like I said. Now I do want to bring up Oversaturation again while I was talking about Netflix, because it applies to just about every other medium as well. There is just so much that only one person can take in. Trying to pit Mission Impossible against Indiana Jones is going to make people want to choose one over the other. And now you see Indiana Jones failing so badly that a small Christian film like Sound of Freedom was able to beat it on 4th of July. Say what you will about the politics surrounding the subject of the movie, but I'm focusing on the fact that multi-million-dollar budgets and big celebrities and big brands don't mean shit if it doesn't perform well. It doesn't guarantee a sequel or spin-off because people just aren't going to show up as much as the studios expected them to. This is a market that has old-fashioned comedies like Joyride and No Hard Feelings coming in, which don't expect them to change the industry anytime soon. With the landscape of streaming services only getting more difficult to follow, with studios breaking away from the formerly all-in-one Netflix to start their own service like Disney+, Paramount+, Peacock, and Max, it's no wonder some content is seeing their downfall or their cancellation earlier than expected. This is an economy that saw a massive punch to the gut during the pandemic, and living proof on how much companies is suffering is Warner Brothers Discovery. Just all the tax write-offs and the amount of canceling that their projects are receiving is shocking. Rest in peace, Batgirl. Rest in peace, Infinity Train. How are you gonna renew Velma instead? That's just wow. On one hand, I feel bad that Hollywood is suffering because I'm a major supporter of cinema. I support the craft of film. I'm looking to be a screenwriter myself. But on the other hand, they had this coming. They've been releasing content that no one asked for. They've been releasing way more than we can chew. There's more mediocre stuff out there than there is quality, and it's been like that for years, but now it's being made even more apparent, especially when how much garbage gets renewed and gets to last forever, while the quality content have to fight to survive. Studios tend to be so picky that they even go as far as to shut down entire studios, just to either cut costs or prioritize certain things over the other. Not to mention all the AI-generated content that's been circling around recently. There's been more people watching AI president memes than there were people watching Ruby Gillman this year. There's been more people watching AI Squidward yelling 2006 Honda Civic than there were people watching The Flash on their second weekend. It's no wonder why the WGA have been striking. Their work is clearly in danger of seeing such drastic changes, and it's a sad sight right now. At the end of the day, this is the industry right now, and it's depressing. I'm thinking we're going to be in a repeating cycle forever. There's not much we can do about people's tastes rapidly changing. It's just a fact of life. But if there's a solution, I think that there has to be agreed upon going forward. Studios are going to have to prioritize quality over quantity and not keep wasting their budgets on projects that no one asked for, and put the right people on the writer's desks to develop quality content that people will be willing to give their own money towards. Foreign content from places like South Korea and Spain and Japan, which anime is a booming business right now, it's becoming a growing option these days. And should Hollywood end up faltering forever, we could just watch content from other places. That being said, what do you think? Is Hollywood dying? Can they have a comeback from this? Let me know in the comments, and please subscribe to this channel. I'm XBStar214. Thanks for watching.